MMA champion, one of the biggest names in the UFC and MMA for the last number of years, as WWE World Heavyweight Champion finally for the first time 2 years after returning to WWE. It took him 2 years to get back on top, reclaiming his position on top of the WWE mountain, and I think this is a great move for WWE. You couldn't have had a more dominant or a more mercenary character as WWE Champion. I think it's a great way of getting away from having John Cena as champion all the time. First and foremost, I have a lot of respect for Brock Lesnar, not being afraid of anybody doing whatever he wanted to do to get back on top. He knew he was going to be back on top ever before he returned on April 1st, 2012. I believe it was April 1st, 2012. He was supposed to be a part of WrestleMania 28 that year, but they put off his return until the night after WrestleMania on April 2nd. He came out in F5 John Cena. He lost a couple of his first two matches with John Cena and Triple H, and then he got on a bit of a win streak that seemingly was unstoppable. And ever since defeating The Undertaker, it seems like nobody they can put in front of Brock Lesnar has been able to stop Brock Lesnar. I have a lot of respect for Brock Lesnar for him doing what he's doing, and more so, I have a lot of respect for fans who turned on John Cena. Let their voices be heard. Nobody wanted to see John Cena as champion anymore, and I'll be honest with you, I've kind of been the leader of the John Cena haters over the last number of years. For the better part of the last 3 to 4 years, I've kind of been leading the John Cena haters crusade to get a new champion in WWE, and whoever the champion was, I didn't care who the champion was at one point, no matter if it was The Miz, no matter if it was Dolph Ziggler, as long as it wasn't John Cena, and John Cena kept on losing. So hopefully now, although Brock Lesnar isn't there all the time, Brock Lesnar will be champion long enough to get away from the John Cenas and Randy Orton, because one thing that really irritates me, it's not so much John Cena as champion and how much the fans have grown to hate him over the years. Unlike when he first showed up in WWE, everybody respected John Cena as a heel and as a fan favorite in the earlier years of his career. It's not so much the fact that I can't stand John Cena, it's just the fact there's way too much consistency in the WWE, and that's really irritable to me. Seeing the same 4 or 5 champions, the same 4 or 5 contenders, not so much contenders because we have a different contender all the time, but it seemed like forever before WWE gave Alberto Del Rio or Sheamus the championship in the later years of their career. They were put on the back burner to people like John Cena and Randy Orton all the time because they're the supposed faces of the WWE, and it's not that I don't appreciate a John Cena or a Randy Orton. I love what John Cena and Randy Orton has done for WWE, especially outside of the company with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, granting all the wishes they have. John Cena granting more wishes than any other celebrity, like the likes of Justin Bieber, beating them out with wishes they've granted for different children, battling with different illnesses and different challenges throughout their lives. The WrestleMania Reading Challenge is always great. The anti-bullying campaign, wrestlers being very open about that, John Cena himself included, in the Be a Star campaign, motivating young children to do something about bullying and hopefully not having it faze them as much. I really appreciate what Randy Orton and John Cena have done for the company outside of it, not so much inside of the company, because it's all about the numbers that a John Cena or a Randy Orton can get. I really wish it wasn't so much about the numbers, because we'd see more of Daniel Bryan and Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio and Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio on top all the time. It's all about the zeros you can put at the end of a number for WWE, and if you can get the zeros in the zero column at the end of a number, no matter what the number is, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million a year, whatever, WWE are going to put you on top all the time. For anywhere from 3 to 10 million, if you can generate that, then you're going to be on top all the time. John Cena has been able to do it. Unfortunately, he's the one who's been designated as the number grower for WWE, and as long as he can gross, he's always going to be on top. But because of the name Brock Lesnar has established in professional wrestling, in the MMA and the UFC, now he's champion, and I see him being champion for a very long time. And people will argue that. That's the interesting thing about Brock Lesnar as champion. People will argue that until their death, until they're lying on their deathbed, that because Brock Lesnar is never there all the time, Brock Lesnar will not be champion for a very long time. Now, statistically, the championship only has to be defended once every 30 days on television and on pay-per-view for televised events and for pay-per-view offerings. Yes, the title is defended all the time on house shows, but it's not defended all the time on house shows as much as it was probably 10 years ago. So Brock Lesnar doesn't need to be there for all the house shows, and he doesn't need to be there all the time, as long as he shows up once every 30 days and defends the title regularly and keeps on winning. If he can keep on winning, defending at least once a month, then there is really no argument that can be raised. He can represent the locker room and do what he wants in video packages and promos. promos. As long as he's a part of a video package where he talks as champion, which I really appreciate, how he says he's not there for fan support, he's not there to be the best, he's just there to kick ass, and that's what Brock Lesnar is doing as a mercenary for Triple H and Stephanie, and he's defeated every obstacle that's been put in front of him, including The Undertaker, who at one time was looked at as an immortal and unstoppable at WrestleMania. Another argument that can be raised, I mean, how are you going to go from being the guy who defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania for the first time in 2 decades to being a guy who loses to someone like a Rey Mysterio or a CM Punk? You're not going to do that. You're not going to have your guy who defeated The Undertaker lose his next match after defeating The Undertaker. And anybody who couldn't see Brock Lesnar becoming champion after defeating The Undertaker, I mean, how much more stupid could you have been as a person? I mean, everybody saw Brock Lesnar becoming champion coming at some point, and now the argument is who's going to be the guy to take the title away from Brock Lesnar. Some people are saying Roman Reigns, others are saying Batista, some are saying The Rock, some are saying The Undertaker next year at WrestleMania. I'm going with The Undertaker or someone like Batista, and probably Batista before The Undertaker does, but it would make perfect sense if The Undertaker returned for WrestleMania 31 and faced Brock Lesnar for the championship. It's not going to be John Cena, because if John Cena defeats Brock Lesnar, then he'll be the first 16-time champion since Ric Flair, and that is an honor I think that should be reserved for Ric Flair. To take that away from Ric Flair, a legacy that took him years to establish in professional wrestling, the WWE Hall of Famer. I mean, he's done everything for every major wrestling organization, been champion more times than anyone, and we've waited years to see John Cena be the 16-time champion, just as we waited years to see Brock Lesnar be the guy to end the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania. You would have thought it would have been someone like Triple H or The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin, someone far more entertaining than Brock Lesnar. So basically what happened, Brock Lesnar walked into WWE headquarters and said, in order for me to sign full-time with WWE, I have to be the man to go to WrestleMania and beat The Undertaker. And they gave in to Brock Lesnar's demands, which were really higher than the demands he previously had when he was first offered to come back to WWE in 2007 and ripped up the contract. And it took them over 7 years to get Brock Lesnar to even go back or even consider to go back to WWE. It finally fell through because they agreed with all the demands of Brock Lesnar. It seemed like everything was handed out of Brock Lesnar. But even with everything being handed to Brock Lesnar, you still have to have a great deal of respect for everything Brock Lesnar has done in the professional wrestling business. He's not afraid of anyone with the exception of a few, maybe The Undertaker. I don't know what the history is between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. It has something to do with the UFC apparently, and how they can't stand one another from their previous years and the 3 matches they had prior to their 4th at WrestleMania 30, which ended with The Undertaker's streak coming to an end at the shock of the over 75,000 fans in the Superdome in New Orleans. Nobody saw that coming, but the thing was, there was way too much conversation on The Undertaker making Brock Lesnar his next victim. There was no conversation on Brock Lesnar. Nobody was talking about Brock Lesnar being the man to go 21-1 against The Undertaker. Nobody saw it coming, and it happened, and it left everybody in a state of shock in the Superdome of WrestleMania 30. If there's one highlight that I remember from this year's WrestleMania, it's The Undertaker streak coming to an end, and I believe that one day we will see The Undertaker again in a WWE ring, if not at a WrestleMania, to face Brock Lesnar for the championship, and it might happen at WrestleMania 31. There's still the chance of that happening. And because Brock Lesnar versus Dave Batista has been a pay-per-view match waiting to happen for the last at least almost a decade now, it's going to happen at some point. I think it was supposed to happen earlier this year. It was originally supposed to have been Brock Lesnar versus Dave Batista at WrestleMania 30. I'll go as far to make a gamble that that was supposed to happen at WrestleMania 30, but because of the popularity, the overwhelming popularity of Daniel Bryan, a guy who had been trained by Shawn Michaels, and because of the friendship of Shawn Michaels and Triple H, Daniel Bryan was put in the WrestleMania main event at the last minute. Nobody agreed with Daniel Bryan being in the main event of WrestleMania 30. Brock Lesnar was offered to go face The Undertaker to keep him happy. They had Brock Lesnar get over on The Undertaker, leaving everybody in a state of shock. They played a case to challenge eventually for the title, which was his next match against John Cena at SummerSlam, which we could see coming after defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania to continue his unstoppable streak of being undefeated. Who will knock Brock Lesnar off this pedestal now, because the match between Brock Lesnar and Dave Batista was unfortunately put on reserve, a match that I believe was supposed to happen at WrestleMania 30. It's definitely going to be Batista, because they have to keep Batista happy, because Batista's been really frustrated since coming back, and all he's really done is lose to Daniel Bryan in this year's WrestleMania main event and be a part of an Evolution reunion which lasted no time, which was just done to put over the Shield. I don't blame Dave Batista at the end of the day for being frustrated with what was done with his character, because they brought him back, to win the Royal Rumble. He was supposed to go to WrestleMania and win the championship, and then he taps out to Daniel Bryan. He put over Daniel Bryan, but I mean, anybody could have put over Daniel Bryan. That's what they used Kane for in the earlier years of Daniel Bryan's career. That's what they used all the opponents Daniel Bryan had as world champion in his first major championship reign in his career to put over Daniel Bryan. They got the job done. Did it really have to be someone like Batista, a guy who was coming back for the first time since 2010? This was the first time in 4 years, Batista, almost half a decade, Batista was coming back to WWE. Did he have to come back to win the Royal Rumble? That was a great way of bringing him back. But where they went wrong was having him tap out to Daniel Bryan and losing to Randy Orton, a guy who he could have easily defeated at WrestleMania to become the second ever WWE World Heavyweight Champion. The second ever WWE World Heavyweight Champion was Daniel Bryan. I understand, again, like I said here earlier about the numbers. Now, if you're getting numbers, you're going to get over. In WWE, Daniel Bryan is obviously getting numbers probably not as high as John Cena, but eventually WWE knew he was going to get the numbers that were as high as John Cena, if not higher. So they gave him the championship, and he probably still will be champion now if he wasn't injured. And I think that is a big factor, too, to having Brock Lesnar versus Dave Batista now, is the fact that Daniel Bryan is injured and he doesn't seem to be coming back anytime soon. But I really appreciate, how the fans turned on John Cena and said, because Daniel Bryan is hurt, we don't want to see John Cena as a 15-time champion. So as fast as they gave John Cena his 15th title reign, they took it away from him. I mean, how long did it last? 3 weeks before John Cena lost the championship at SummerSlam this year. I mean, he defended it successfully in a Fatal 4-Way match to plead a case that I'm the champion, I'm here, and I'm not going away. Here comes Brock Lesnar, the mercenary, and he gets the job done as Plan C when Seth Rollins and the Fatal 4-Way match couldn't take the title away from John Cena and bring it back to the Authority. And here's the thing, Brock Lesnar allows he's with the Authority, but it doesn't seem like Brock Lesnar is with the Authority. He's getting paid high amounts to do things for Triple H and Stephanie, and Brock Lesnar has this mentality that he's not there for the fans, he's not there for the organization, he's not there for the Authority, he's there for himself because he wants to be champion. It's not because he has a desire to be champion after holding it 3 previous times and being an NCAA Double One Division champion and a junior college national champion and a former King of the Ring and a Royal Rumble winner in 2003 and defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30. It's not like Brock Lesnar needs the championship. The thing is, Brock Lesnar wants to be champion, and I think Brock Lesnar is going to be champion for a very long time. Am I interested in finding out where this is going to go? Even though where it's going to go is pretty obvious at this point, because Brock Lesnar is not going to lose the championship to someone who is a smaller name than him in the industry. He's going to lose the title to someone who's on the upper echelon in the company, on the same level as he is. And there are very few people who are on the same level of a Brock Lesnar, unless you're a Triple H, unless you're an Undertaker, unless you're a Dave Batista, unless you're a Rock. You're the only one who's going to be given the distinction of defeating Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar wants to be as big of a name as what he